Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Red Pill Podcast 120. I hope you're all having a beautiful weekend out there. We have so much to get into since the past week in crypto has been wild with the Ripple and SEC case ruling in favor of Ripple deeming XRP not a security. I'm sure you're all aware of the news, so we're going to be dedicating today's podcast to XRP in that regard, but it's going to be one of the best podcasts yet. I really put in a lot of time to prepare this one for you guys, so you're going to want to be taking notes during this one. It's going to be packed with gems. So welcome to the Red Pill Podcast, and also if you are new here to our community, welcome to the Wolf Pack. It's so great to have you here with us. If you're new and you have yet to get access to our Discord server, go ahead and send me a direct message on Patreon with your Discord username and the last four numbers after your username, and I will reply back to you on a Patreon message with the Discord server invite link. And keep up the voting system for the altcoins in this podcast. You guys are doing incredible with that. Again, if you're new here, the way that we select the altcoins that we'll be going over in the next week's Red Pill podcast is by submitting in the comments section of this Patreon post the name of the altcoin and the ticker symbol, and just make sure that it at least has a year or two of data, and it has to be a chart that is available on TradingView. I can't wait to get into today's podcast. We really have so much to get into, so I'm just going to jump straight into it. Today, we'll be recapping the last couple days of price action for XRP since it has been deemed not a security in the recent court ruling for the SEC versus Ripple case, which again, I'm sure you're all aware of. We'll be getting into some theories about a potential Ripple IPO, which many speculate to happen soon due to this recent court ruling. I'll also be covering Binance Coin, which has experienced a noticeable correction since the SEC came after Binance.us recently, and my thoughts on how all of that will turn out regarding the future of Binance. And I'll also be covering the recent spike for Stellar Lumens and going back to some of the price targets that I called out 7 months ago for XLM that actually came to life recently, and it was out there in the public to see. So it will be interesting to get into that chart and see what's going on with XLM over the past couple days. And since I'm also covering IOTA today, that means in today's podcast and last week's combined, I would have gone over most of the basket of the ISO 222 compliant altcoins that are commonly discussed. Last week, I covered Quant and HBAR, Hedera Hashgraph, and I just covered XDC Network and Algorand about a month ago in Red Pill Podcast 114. So after today, we'll be fully caught up with that list of ISO 222 coins. We can almost consider this an ISO 222 special part 3, but I'll probably make a proper part 3 podcast the week before the end of Jubilee. So it'll be probably Red Pill Podcast 128, the day before the 22nd anniversary of 9/11. So, wow, just a side note, I can't believe we're just a couple months away from the end of Jubilee. It's just crazy how time flies. So, and today I'll also be going over Solana and Kaspa, ticker symbol KAS, which is a project that I have yet to look at. It'll be my first time doing any analysis on that chart. So, as you can probably tell, this is a very special Red Pill podcast, probably one of the most important in a long time. We've had some new wolves join the wolf pack here over the past week. We've had recent interview with the Bearable Bull, and I did one with Logan over at Decode Your Reality, as well as Coach JV. Last time I talked with him was 9 months ago. So been making a little bit of rounds on interviews lately, and it's brought some new wolves to the community. So just wanted to welcome any new wolves that have joined. It's amazing to have you here with us. So grateful for you to be here at this time. This is such an amazing time to be together, especially with what's going on with XRP and just where our community stands with all of this. So although it was chaotic for a majority of the crypto communities on July 13th when XRP started breaking out, what we had going on over here was so unique. It was incredible to see how calm and composed everyone was and how collaborative this space became. So this is really the best community. I can't even say the best crypto community because what we're doing here is so vast. We have decoders, astrologers, accountants, members that specialize in real estate and the tax code, and all of those skills coming from some of the most conscious beings that gather together and match at this frequency. So it's really just such a beautiful opportunity for us to be here collaborating together at this exact time, preparing for this next cycle in 2024, but staying present and focused on the now moment in the process. So just wanted to kick off today's Red Pill podcast with gratitude for the community. I'm so grateful for every single one of you. So much love. And let's get into the podcast. It's going to be packed with gems as usual. So like I said earlier, you definitely want to be taking notes. So just a couple of dates. Of course, tomorrow is going to be the new moon happening on a Monday, Moon Day. And we have the Federal Reserve FOMC meeting just about a week away on July 25th and 26th. Again, we've talked about that so many times, so we can just move on with that. We could be days away from the launch of their new FedNow service. Again, the July 20th date is speculative. No one knows exactly when it will go live until the Federal Reserve says it themselves. But one interesting date that I did find around this time is actually next Saturday. So let's get into that. So next Saturday is going to be the 22nd of July. I believe this is the only date we're going to talk about today because we've been talking about most of the crucial dates already, and this is really packed with code. So I'm excited to share this with you guys. And again, like everything we do here, I'm giving these pieces of information to you guys as decoders so that you can talk about it in the community and add even more value. So whatever I'm sharing with you today, I would love to know what else you guys have found. Perhaps we have astrologers here that focus on not only the tropical system, but sidereal or Vedic astrology. Let me know what you guys are finding for this July 22nd date. Excuse me. So I'm going to be sharing exactly these connections that I found. It's profound. There's so much to get into on this, but this 181-day connection to this special date of January 22nd is so important because this is the Chinese New Year. So this was the start of the year of the rabbit. And we have this 181 being the 42nd prime number. Okay, now this number 42 ties us back to Saturn with that 42. You can see it right there. And this date of July 22nd lands on a Saturn day, right? And this is also the 203rd day of this year, which becomes the number 23 with the rules of numerology before reduction. You remove the 0, it brings you back to 23. And that's the year that we're in right now, the year of 2023. And also this being the Hebrew year 5783, which adds up to 23. And the year that I'm calling the Jubilee, 23. Very important that you see this code playing out. And I'm actually going to be breaking down this number 23 even more for y'all, give you more meaning behind these numbers because I know that's what you're looking for. Not just to be talking about random numbers, but what do they actually mean? That's what we're going to do. So, and since I was just tying this all back to Saturn, that means we have to talk about this 181 connection directly to Satoshi Nakamoto. Excuse me. So before I was talking about Saturn and how this lands on a Saturn day, and Saturn is the mythological story that we could connect to Satoshi Nakamoto. And look at that, 181 days, this equals 181, Satoshi Nakamoto. 181 days since the start of this Chinese New Year. All right, so since we were talking about Satoshi, I want to go back to Satoshi's last birthday, which is connected to this date by 108 days. So this 108 is an important number, particularly in Eastern spiritualism, but that 108 becomes 18, the 1 and 8. And this Date also has an 18 standard date numerology. 18 is a very important number in Judaism, especially regarding giving gifts, money, and of course, it's a very important number for them spiritually as well. More importantly, it's a spiritual number to them, and then it's become part of the matrix and how they deal with finance, etc. So after finding these two big connections, I thought, why not? Let's connect this to Rosh Hashanah, since we were just talking about Judaism with this number 18. And when we connect it to the first day of Rosh Hashanah, you're going to see it's 55 days, which is also Satoshi Nakamoto in 2 key ciphers. Mind-blowing. And remember that this Rosh Hashanah, the actual day of Rosh Hashanah this year, lands on a Saturn day, a Satoshi day, also with a 23 date numerology, just like Jubilee equals 23, just like Bitcoin equals 23, and Bitcoin in English ordinal equaling 72, just like the double-digit date numerology of July 22nd equals 72. There's so many connections I'm sharing with just one single date back to all of these critical events. And this is so important because this is the end of Jubilee. Again, having a 23 date numerology and Jubilee adding up to 23. This is uncanny. It's amazing how it's all tied together. So many people have asked me about the significance of this number 23 since I keep bringing it up so much this year. And it's not only that it's the 9th prime number, 9 being the number that represents everything, spatial infinity. It's the number that represents the ego, because this number always comes back to itself. Think about the 369 code. So 23 can also be perceived as 2 3s, which becomes 33. The master number of transmutation, the difference between hot and cold, 33 degrees, 33 vertebrae, right? But also if you read this backwards, you have 3 2s, which is 2 2 2. That becomes 6, which is an upside down 9. This 6 9 is the yin yang. It's the Cancer symbol. So I hope you're taking notes, family. This is really important stuff for these decoders out there that are new, and maybe decoders that only utilize this gematria calculator but don't know too much about the origin of the numbers that this thing is spitting out. So now you have more value, and this is going to all be covered at length and very simplified and in a clean presentation with my new upcoming decoding mastermind course. So don't worry about it. By the time you're done with that decoding mastermind, you're going to be of the upper 1% of decoders on Earth. You're going to have so much awareness and consciousness of this code, and the way that I teach, it'll make it so that it's easily utilizable in your day-to-day life and in anything that you're interested in. It's not going to be very heady. I don't want it to be too complicated. I'm going to do a very good job at simplifying it, so don't worry. Even if you're a complete beginner, you're going to be able to jump into it and finish it off as high-level advanced. Trust me on this. So lastly, let's connect July 22nd, the date we were just talking about, to that powerful date of March 10th. Okay, we know this date. I've been talking about it a lot. It is the date that Silicon Valley Bank failed and the last time that Bitcoin traded below 20K. Currently today, we've seen Bitcoin get up to 31K, so it's been quite a buyback since that correction. Now, these two dates connect by 134 days. That's really, really powerful because 134 shows up in the code of Ripple XRP, the company and their token, Ripple XRP, adding up to 134. This will be 134 days after Silicon Valley Bank failed. 134 is also the anagram of pi, 3.14. Circumference of a circle. Okay, so remember how earlier I brought up that connection to the number 42? Because we were talking about this date being 181 days since Chinese New Year. That's 181 days since January 22nd. And 181 is the 42nd prime number. And that 42 also shows up in Ripple XRP in the Chaldean cipher, one of the most important ciphers for me. So I want people to also be aware about the Saturnian influence in Ripple as a company and in XRP. There is one. Even though we talk about the X and this symbolism tying specifically to Jupiter, there's definitely a lot of Jupiterian influence for XRP, but anything regarding Jupiter will also regard Saturn because that's the son of Saturn. Like father, like son. It is Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, or Anakin and Luke. Anakin, Anunnaki, right? They're giving you all the truth in Hollywood movies, okay? But getting this back on the rails, there is a Saturnian element to Ripple, of course. I don't want to get too deep into that because it's going to get, really philosophical. And we've already decoded this coin so much over the past 2 years that, there's plenty of material you can go back on. I believe I have a full-blown presentation on decoding XRP and Ripple inside of my crypto mastermind course. So any of you that have that, that section will be in a decoding section. It also includes a full Gematria masterclass as well for those of you that are interested in specifically decoding crypto. And that is available for the biggest discount for you guys, for Patreon supporters. So that course is still extremely relevant. And I'm using the same techniques that I was when I created it today, not only from the decoding perspective, but also from the technical analysis perspective. Not much has changed. And although the charts have changed over time and there's been more data added and there's been a bull run and a bear market, it doesn't mean that the technical analysis has changed. TA never changes. It only gets more refined. We've definitely refined over time, but those basics and those fundamentals, you should never stray away from them. So that is what remains the same. And even as you get advanced, it gets tempting to sometimes not utilize the fundamentals. And that is something that I caution you about. When you're really advancing in this game of wealth, you must never disregard the basics. The basics are everything. Think about the 80-20 principle, Pareto's principle. 20%, 80%, this 20% fluency in something and awareness, or when you are able to be competent in 20%, that will get you able to be aware of the other 80% and be much, much more dialed in than somebody who's trying to just gather all the information at once. And this is where you really dial in your process of learning. This is where you become a better learner. Think about the 80-20 principle. I talk about it a lot in my work. I believe I went deep in it on the expansion mastermind course, talking about just how to become a better learner, how to expedite the process of developing skills and refining skills, and more importantly, utilizing those skills once you've acquired the information. So getting back on track here, this is kind of a good pivot to talk about the theories around Ripple going public. Their IPO is essentially the talk of the town lately, now that this court ruling has gone in XRP's favor with this small win of XRP being deemed not a security. The case is not over though. So to me, this idea of Ripple going public is an incredible opportunity, or at least it sounds like one. And the community around Ripple and XRP is massive. The only thing is, we need to be cautious about these theories that Ripple going public will somehow bring more extreme bullish price action to XRP, past any technical levels that we've already identified. So this is where we really practice our discernment. It's important to stay calm and keep the emotions on the sidelines here. And this is an important time to remind everyone here that my targets for the next bull run on XRP are $14 minimum. So I want everyone here to be reminded of that, and we have levels in between that, of course, between breaking into price discovery and 14. But please be reminded that I've been speaking of this $14 target for a while now for the next cycle. And the only reason I'm going to go into this now is because there's been a lot of confusion lately, and I completely understand since my channel is growing and new supporters are coming across my art every day. It's easy for them to hear about this 83-cent target that we've spoken about recently, or even the upper targets of my automatic rally that I call for $1.33. So some of them think that that's all XRP would do, and that's of course not the case. Now, is it the most likely case in the short term, according to my analysis? Yes. Because until XRP can actually break $2, then it is yet to be in its macro SOS phase. So let me zoom out and tell you what I'm talking about here. With Wyckoff method, this last bull run in the macro would be your buying climax. This sell-off down here into the C19 crash would be your selling climax. This $2 run that happened in April 2021, the alt season of the last cycle, would be your automatic rally. By the way, I'm speaking macro right now. I'm not talking about micro. This is macro. This would be your macro automatic rally. Then after that, you have another larger correction. You don't always need a spring. You don't always need to have a lower low. You could just come back down, have last point of support, LPS, and then a buyback that can break above your automatic rally target would be called a sign of strength, an SOS. We're not there yet. Okay, so until we get there, there's really no big parties about, or any reason to entertain higher highs, because we're just at lower highs right now still. This is why I'm so focused on this particular cycle and isolating it out, because this will make us more dialed in the process. Just 1 second, family. I'm going to drink some water real quick. Okay, so I hope that clears things up about my long-term outlook. $14 into $22 for this 2024 cycle into the end of 2024, maybe early 2025. But for now, I'm seeing an automatic rally in the micro, where we're getting up into this $1 territory, perhaps into 130. You watched my last YouTube video, you'll kind of have an idea of what I'm talking about. But let's get back into breaking this down step by step. So the question is Ripple going public with this IPO what will cause a surge in the XRP price past $2? I doubt it. Is Bitcoin breaking 70,000 and continuing into price discovery going to cause a surge in the XRP price past $2 and into a new all-time high? That's more likely. We're not there yet. Okay, so would I be happy if XRP played catch up and went into a new all-time high sooner than this? Of course. And I have a scenario built into my investment thesis and trading plan as well. So no matter what happens, I've already thought about how I will take advantage of whatever happens. That's what a sophisticated investor does, and that is exactly what I am here to teach everyone. So, like I said in my first Bearable Bull interview, and hundreds of other times in my art, I see XRP going from $14 to $22, maybe $24, and the next big move for XRP, the end of 2024 into 2025. But we need to take it one step at a time, baby steps before sprinting. And to recap how I personally played this recent move for XRP, I did have sell limit orders at 83, 86, and 89 cents. I believe I mentioned that in my last YouTube video. And I also posted it over on the What I'm Buying and Selling text channel in our Discord. Then shortly after that, I updated my limit sell orders in case XRP continues into the finality of this automatic rally phase. And I broke that up into 4 different orders. Got one at 103, 111, 127, and 133, essentially swiping through this higher level of the technical AR targets below the 888 fib. So below $1.58. I don't think XRP has the potential to break above 140 at this time. If it does, that would be really, really interesting. So since my average investment in XRP at that time adds up to being around 25 cents or so, this is the last time that I updated it from my positions that I added in my reaccumulation phase of March in 2023. This gave me almost 250% return on that de-risking play that just happened. And this next swipe into the $1 range, if and when we get it, would be about 300% returns on that take profit play. So leaving me with at least 30 to 35% of my initial position. So looking to sell off about 65%, 70% of the total position between the de-risk and those take profit levels that I just shared with you, keeping about, a third of my XRP bag as a never sell until we get into price discovery. So That will basically be my play. And another important thing to be reminded of is I will use the same stable coins from the de-risking and the take profit play to buy back in if this turns out to be a true automatic rally. A true automatic rally stops out in the golden pocket or even between the 0.5 and 618, and then it returns below the 382. So if this is a true automatic rally and we do come up for another leg higher, get rejected on a lower high in the macro, and come down below 60 cents, that will be a true automatic rally confirmed. And I will just be using whatever I sold over here to buy back in. This can all go down this year, by the way. And I want everyone to remember this. My goal out of all of what I just told you, and my goal has always been to have more XRP, not dollars. So my long-term goal, of course, is to accumulate as much XRP as I can before the next Bitcoin halving to take advantage of the next run. Now, my goal back in 2021 was different, all right? That was to de-risk as much XRP as possible and to have as many dollars as possible because I already knew about the power of the Shemitah year, which is the 7-year cycle. And into the end of the Shemitah, when we go up, and 1 year after, cash is king. The USD, to be specific, which I always called the cleanest dirty laundry. I exposed this theory about being heavy in fiat in preparation for 2022 a long time ago. And anyone who took me seriously back then can see why now. But it's of course difficult to compare where my channel was back then in April, May 2021 because my channel was new. And it was only until I was invited onto my first interview with Coach JV at the 3T Warrior Academy that I was able to expose the truth of the Shemitah to a bigger audience. And I know back then I was telling people every single week that I am taking my final profits on XRP into the start of the Shemitah, which was right here around this red circle. It was basically September 7th of 2021. And that was when I took my final profits for that cycle back here at $1.30 to $1.40. I was sharing this all publicly as at that time as well. So back in this cycle, leading into a Shemitah, you want to be fiat heavy. Right now, you actually want to be using this time to be risk speculative asset heavy because we're in what is called a bear market, right? Now, I don't like using these terms of bull run, bear market. I'm just using them for semantics to have a language to speak with you guys. But that delineates the difference. We're not in another Shemitah until 2028. So we have a completely different, vibe right now. And it was so important that we realize that, and those nuances. And I want people to be reminded again. All I'm looking to do now with these plays, with these short-term swing trades, is to have more coin, to accumulate more XRP. Now, for the people that absolutely need profit right now, they need fiat. Well, this was your opportunity, right? That's all that really matters. It's what will you do with your money? And that's all that matters for you. What I'm doing with my money is different for me based off of my overall investment thesis. So, if I was to go back and track every single move that I did with XRP, I believe this recent investment that I made with XRP in March, going back to this time frame here, it would probably put me at an average that's less than 17 cents at this point because I've just been recycling profits over and over again to accumulate more since the Shemitah started. I didn't buy any XRP between here and here of March. So you can see de-risking at $1.30 into $1.40 and then waiting to buy back in at around 35, 36, 37 cents. You can see the method to the madness here. It wasn't just based off of theory. It was based off of a cyclical 7-year cycle, and we were living through it. So there's no reason to disregard 100 years of chart data, right? And this is actually how I found out by mistake that XRP is my second biggest holding. I thought it was Ethereum until I took some time to do the math. And it was funny at the time that I shared that too, because people were like, don't you know what you hold? And my response to that is very simple. When you know how to make money work for you, you don't need to know exactly what you hold. because you have a cash flow system in place. And when you have an active cash flow system in place, you don't need to think about these kind of things. So the only time you burden yourself with knowing exactly what you hold in your portfolio is if you do not have a cash flow system in place. So of course you'd be worried about that if you do not have money working for you, but I do. So I'm not worried about, the slight nuances of percentages and all of that. It's too acidic to think about that stuff too often, I think I heard some financier say that if you know exactly how much money you have, you're poor. And that actually made me go, whoa, that's pretty interesting perspective, but it's actually true. Because if you know exactly how much money you have, you're probably not diversified in other investments, And having only crypto maybe isn't the way to go when you're talking about generational wealth. Then you got to start getting into life insurance plans and, turning your LLC into an S Corp, or maybe even, getting some trusts going. I mean, there's a lot when it comes to the game of finance. So you can't just be only in one lane if you're trying to create generational wealth, right? So that's what I wanted to touch on today, to fill everyone in on exactly what my plans are and to be transparent with the community. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and I am not telling you what to do with your money. I'm simply sharing what I am doing with mine. And it's up to you to do your own research before you speculate. And of course, you could leverage on this community's wisdom for refining your investment thesis and trading plan. That's why we're all here together, to collaborate. And I'm sure now you can see the merit behind preparing your investment thesis and trading plan in advance. And for those of you who did have a trading plan in advance, but you did not take action because you got greedy, well, hopefully you'll take this past week as a lesson learned. Don't let greed distract you from your plan. It's very simple. And don't forget me saying this. Develop your plan and then trade your plan. Stick to it. Don't let this nonsense of maybe it'll go higher get in the way of your plan. I know for the seasoned investor in this community, what just happened with XRP trading into 90 cents might have been your first time ever trading your plan. And now you can see the beauty behind those actions. You probably felt like a titan when XRP came back down to 66 cents, right? And if you set up your plan effectively and kept some of your coin for a potential next leg up, you'll no longer feel bad for selling too early, because you'll just be grateful for being profitable in the first place. And when you compound that type of action over time, you'll literally outpace 99% of retail and hedge funds combined. So it's all about consistency, not just one huge win followed by several big losses. It's time that we get past this one step forward and two steps back game. Just keep walking the line, family. All right, so I've given you the recipe. Now it's time for you to cook. I gave you the seed. Now it's time for you to plant it in the soil. And when it produces fruit, harvest it. Don't just watch it rot. Okay? Some words of wisdom. Let's get into the charts, do some TA on this market, shall we? Actually, would like to go over Bitcoin and Ethereum, then XRP, be getting into Stellar, IOTA, Binance Coin, Solana, wrapping it up with Caspa. Let's go. Got Bitcoin trading here about 30,400. We're going to be going to the daily chart. We're on specifically the index chart. It's been the chart we've been utilizing the most, and you could see Bitcoin moseying on up new microcycle highs over and over again, topping out on the 13th, and then we got a Twin Towers candle. So this Twin Towers thing is common with crypto. You could probably tell you understand why I call it that. I actually coined this term going all the way back here in this moment. This was the first Twin Towers event, and I mean, it was so clean because it was this distributional pattern Bart head. And when this day happened, it was a huge bull trap. It got so many people thinking we would keep going up into a new all-time high, but they disregarded Rosh Hashanah. Okay, you can't forget about Hebrew New Year, family. They love deceiving and tricking you around that Hebrew calendar, and this community knows about it. And you know that I put more emphasis on that calendar than I do the Gregorian. So getting up to today, We did have this little Twin Towers event, which I don't like. I don't like these. They're very, very weird, and it's hard to determine, how we're going to recover off of that, especially when we had it be a slight bearish engulfing candle. So what I mean by that is you can see the close on the following day was lower than the prior red, which isn't a technical, but it's, it kind of has that essence. Needless to say, because we don't need to get fancy here, we are maintaining an uptrend in the micro, and we have effectively closed many candles and wicked above many of the highs of April 2023. So this kind of just feels to me right now that we're facing a short-term resistance, and Bitcoin is ready to make a decision where it wants to go. And this is typically a time to anticipate the finality of its automatic rally. Like I'm talking about, it could be completed in just a couple of weeks. We were anticipating this anyways, though, like once you start getting close to this 0.5 fib, it should all happen pretty quickly. And now we watched XRP just recently catch up. We saw ETH has already completed its AR. So, everything is caught up now, pretty much. Now, these lower cap altcoins, they might be underperforming right now. That just has to do with Bitcoin dominance. And I think I just saw Bitcoin dominance slide below 50% today. We'll see how that all opens up into next week. But we know Bitcoin dominance could be back at 52% in a week from today, 2 weeks from today, just with another leg up for Bitcoin. Right now, everything's just stabilizing and balancing out because of what happened specifically isolated to what Ripple just went through. And then we had the relisting on Coinbase and plenty of other relistings. So all the prana is going to XRP right now. And that's given XRP a ton of dominance. But if you really zoom out and just look at everything the way that it is, with ETH dominance, Bitcoin dominance, and stablecoin dominance, including XRP catching up, it's all balancing right now. That's beautiful. It's all balancing. So I like to see that. I really do. It's making me very bullish and hopeful that we have one more leg higher, not only for Bitcoin, but for XRP as well. And we'll get to that in a moment. So nothing really changes about the technicals on Bitcoin because we've been chopping sideways since we had this 33K level of the 0.5 fib. That will get you to fill the upper CME gap we've talked about many times. Let me just go to that chart to be, Getting there would get us above the 0.5 fib and would probably lead us into swiping through the upper CME gap, which is at 35,200. I know I've brought this up so many times, so I don't really need to keep going over it. I just wanted to, remind maybe some newer people here in the community. And then the difference between 35 getting to that gap and hitting this red line right there at 37,700 could all happen in the same day. All right. So I want us to be prepared with limit orders if you're somebody who's intending on taking action. Again, not financial advice, but that's what I will be doing. I'm looking to de-risk some of my Bitcoin play, of course, because I have a feeling we're going to return back to this trend line. And we could eventually break through it on the next test. We already had 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touches. I mean, the more you test the trend line support, you typically break through it. And like I told you before, it's very typical on an automatic rally phase that you come back below the 382 again. Now, where's this critical horizontal trend line? 25K. So getting up to this, 38, 40K maybe, rolling over to 25, I think that's a brilliant opportunity. And Bitcoin can easily come back to this 236. That's very normal. I am not entertaining anything lower than 15K. A lot of people have been asking me about that. Waters, what do you think about a 12K Bitcoin? No, not right now. I have so many reasons to deny why that could happen. I don't really have the time to get into it right now, but remember what I've been teaching you about these solar cycles and how Bitcoin acts when we start a solar cycle. Well, we've recently started one in April, and we're doing what we always do when we enter a solar cycle. We look bullish moving into it, and we maintain a bull trend while we're in it. We don't reverse and continue into lower lows. So anywho, giving you the upside targets, the downside targets right now are just holding this big support line that we've had in play now for, I suppose, over 200 days. Yep, pretty much going on 200 days in just about a week from now. And getting above 31 on daily close would probably be ideal. Let me look at just like the weekly with some of our moving averages so I could see what's up. Oof, yeah, weekly is looking good. Ideally, we want to get above that 30,700 on tonight's weekly close. We're about $300 away from that, so that's very, very likely. All of our key moving averages are sloping to the upside. That's very bullish. We have 60 RSI, so we're above 50 in bullish control. Let's look at some of our, okay, yeah, all of our EMAs are sloping to the upside. We can see the 8 above the 13, above the 21, and we're about to have this 34 EMA cross above the 200 simple, so that's very nice. And the 55 simple has started to slope to the upside. Like, really not much bearish we could talk about right now. But remember what I said before about a larger correction later at the end of this automatic rally. I want you guys to keep your eyes on this 55 simple moving average on the weekly. That would be a textbook level to come back to. I think I talked about that in the last podcast as well. Let me see when the next 5 days coming in. Okay, so the next 5 days coming in pretty much like 3 days from today. Really nothing we could say. We've yet to test the 200 simple on the 5 day. That'd put us pretty close to that upper CME gap. 3 day. Damn, we're just really stalling out here. So the 3 day is pretty obvious now that we are starting to cross all of our moving averages above the 200 simple. That's really nice because you want these 200s to be at the bottom. You don't want them to be at the top like they are here. At the top, it's clear we're in bear energy. When it's at the bottom, that's where it should be. So having this 55 simple cross above that 200 exponential right there would be really solid. But ultimately having this 200, both of these 200s below all of these moving averages will make us look good. And getting that cross to occur would give us nice support on the downside in the event of a bigger correction. This is what I'm talking about right here. You see how these green moving averages are at the bottom? That's kind of what I mean, but on the 3 day chart. Okay, we're looking fine. I mean, we have the, we're still in a upper energy wolf cross. We have the 200 sloping to the upside. Daily's looking fine. Okay, the 12 hours really, really coiling together. So a wolf cross is the 8 and the 55 simple moving average. If we have this 8 cross below the 55, that could lead us to a small correction. So yeah, we got to pop soon. This is really coiling together though. You can see all of these moving averages just kissing each other. Okay, family. So downside, we want to hold 29.9. We just want to hold 30K on daily closes. And a Wix down to 29,500 are in the cards. But yeah, that's not looking good. We'd really be digging a little bit deeper than we would like to for continuation energy. Oh, and then what I've taught you guys already about how 35 to 40 days after the retest at these lows. So, you know, that puts us into day 35 is this upcoming Thursday, and day 40 is leading into the FOMC meeting. So just please, please, please keep that in mind, because that does seem to be a cyclical pattern from this test to this test to this test. And the trend line I'm talking about is right here. I'll turn off all this noise. There you go. I talked about this in the last video I released as well. Okay, let's get over to ETH. I might not have too much to say. Yep, really no true update I could give on this. It's the same analysis as before. Testing 2057 is kind of your key horizontal trend line right there at the 0.5 fib in the macro. Making a higher high at this point would only be likely if we see Bitcoin go into like 37, 38. It's probably what it would take. And then we would need dominance to spill over into ETH. But as of right now, ETH has already completed its automatic rally. And if it can get up to like 2075, like if it could get back into this range between 2050 and 2150, for me, that would be perfect to start de-risking. So just de-risking in levels up to 2300. I don't know if I could entertain higher than 2300 at this time. It's kind of like where I would see this stopping. I don't know if we can make it up to the 618. That'd be very, very interesting. Be very interesting. I would love if it happened, but it'd be less likely. But who knows? Maybe it goes up into 2,400 for the 24 connection back to what I shared with XRP earlier. Okay, now we're going to spend some time on XRP. It is the XRP special, of course. Yes, this is the chart that I wanted to show you guys. All right. So I talked about this a little bit on the Bearable Bull podcast that came to life, as well as the time that I spent going over the charts on the Good Morning Crypto show about a week ago. And I have a fib pulled here from this swing high on March 29th down to the swing low of May 10th. And I have this right now on I'm going to turn it here. Okay. This way it is based in a linear scale. All right. Now you can see we actually came back down to test this 1618. So this is the golden ratio. Let me see. Do I have this is a much cleaner chart. Okay. I'm going to use this chart. It's a little bit cleaner. Alrighty. So I'm looking at a 12-hour right now that actually helps with the data. And again, the same fib pull I was just talking to you about moments ago. It is based in linear chart though, because we're using a short amount of data here. So this is not checked on purpose. Now, we blasted straight through the 1618. That's not good, but we retested it, okay? And when we retested it, we actually started to hold it and back tested it again, and then now we're actually seeing a little bounce off of the 1618. This is clean, okay? So I don't want you guys to forget these basics. This is stuff that I teach, very in depth in the Crypto Mastermind. So this type of bounce is looking fantastic. Now, if we were to start getting a 12-hour closure above this high right here, above 81, let's just call it 82 cents. To me, that would be a signal that we're gonna move to 93 cents pretty quickly. We're gonna back test this wick and see what was going on there regarding this sell wall, because we know this was a sell wall. Let me show you the 13-minute chart. Look at this shit. We went straight up to 90 cents, and then on this candle going to 94 cents, got smacked all the way down to 73 cents. This is a 13-minute candle, okay? And we've been on a downtrend on that since. Now we look like we're starting to reverse. We can't really confirm until we get back above 82 cents, like I told you before, okay? But keep in mind that when we do have a 12-hour closure above 82 cents, I think we're going to start filling out this area of this wick right here. There's a reason that sell wall was there. It was a massive short, okay? I'm not sure what whales put that in, probably across many exchanges, who knows? But just be considerate of that. And then $1 and above $1, I'll talk about what fib level to look out for. And it's right here, the 4.236 to the 4.618. That's what I teach you guys. When we're using a linear fib pull, you want to be considering the 4.236, especially if you're just pulling a short-term fib like I did here, which is only really using a swing high to swing low of 40 days. That's not a ton of data. So just be considerate. The next move up, getting into $1.14 to $1.21, is technical, okay? It's very technical. Now I'm going to zoom out here. I'm going to go to this chart, and we're going to look at where does 114 to 121 go. Right up to the 702 fib, right below the 786 fib, pretty much right in the upper half of the golden pocket. So that's a totally technical level when you have this macro fib pull and when you have this shorter term fib pull. Okay, family? So we have a lot of technical reasons to go up to above $1. Above, the only reason I put a sell limit order at $1.03 is just in case we only swipe to the lower end of the 618. That's the only reason. But we do clearly have data from right here, which is about $1 up to $1.30. We have a pretty substantial amount of data actually. So could we retest into that range? Sure. But would I assume we're getting overheated? Yes. And then that returns us back to this 2-day analysis, looking at the 2-day RSI, where I reminded you guys, you want to be looking out for like a 91 to 95 RSI on the 2-day. That seems to be where XRP really likes to stall out, and that could happen in a straight line. Let's look at the 3-day RSI, see if we're getting anything different. There you go, 91. Yep, pretty much 91 here, 91's 91, and then this upper, wow, got super overheated there, but yeah, pretty much 91 to 95. We're looking at the 5-day right now. Here we are, we have about 87, 91 to 95-ish. Weekly is a little too much data, but yeah, just be considerate. 2-day RSI, 91 to 95, pretty good target to look out for to see if we're overheated on this, on this oscillator. Okay, I'm just looking at something right now. Okay, great. So we see XRP right now at 77 cents. It is potentially going to be closing today above the macro 0.5 fib. That's really good. I like to see that. But we want to see an 82-cent closure on the 12-hour chart, and then we'll probably swipe up into filling this 618 area. And then, like I said, I shared with you my personal sell targets. Those are already in place. If they trigger, great. If they don't, I already de-risked, so it's all good in the hood. But for anyone who did not de-risk, you could be considerate of this if you're intending to. Again, not financial advice. Now, what would be an invalidation? Invalidation would be if we actually start wicking below the 66-cent level, showing that we have weakness at the 70-cent clean psychological, and then rolling over back to about 54 cents. So 54 to 56 cents would be a target to roll over to if we can't continue up. But I feel actually more bullish at this time, just given the circumstances. And because XRP does like to have about 4 to 9 days after the first day of breakout to continue a little bit higher. We've seen it happen in so many iterations of these BART heads over and over again. Like here you have this big breakout candle, but then going over 8 total trading days, we top. So right here was your breakout candle, and then going over 4 trading days was the day of this wick top. There's plenty of other examples of this. Here you have your breakout candle. No, I don't want to use an emoji. And then technically 2 days later, but then given that was a liquidity event, you could see 2 weeks actually it took. This was a weird moment though. This was right after the SEC case, and this had something to do with like Wall Street bets suckering a bunch of people in to try to redo what happened with, what was that, GameStop? You guys remember that moment? That was a really weird time. I remember it though. Anyways, okay, I gave you all the upside, all the downside levels. More bullish bias on XRP. I do feel $1 in play. I would love to get that $1.20, $1.30 triggered. That'd be beautiful for me, and I'm sure anyone else. All right, now into the altcoins today. We are looking at XLM, but before we do that, I want to show you something really quickly, which is this tweet over here. It was right around the time I met Bearable Bull and started talking with him and did the interview, and I said this chart could be helpful for your community because he made a video about XLM, and I wanted to give him some technical targets just to, give back to the community. And I showed this concept here of the past automatic rally cycle and utilizing that data to right now and come up with this level of 0.167. So pretty much right below 18 cents, or what we could call the 382 fib. Now, this is your 382 fib, and we actually sliced through that level. So if anyone took that, call 7 months ago seriously and had limit orders set, that could have been a nice de-risking level. And what we've seen recently might actually be the start of a potential continuation of an automatic rally for Stellar Lumens. Technically, Stellar's actually lagging behind XRP at this time. So yeah, it was cool to have that come to fruition based off of how this last cycle turned out. So let me show you the idea here. It was from this swing high to this swing low. I'm going to turn on this fib pull. Wait 1 second. Let me match it correctly. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So that is correct. You have swing high, or your buying climax, selling climax. This never had an automatic rally. It just went on a really, really torrential downtrend. But you see right here, we got to the 236 and then had this one like liquidity event right below the 382, that little spike right there. I kind of was influenced by that. So I pulled the fib the same way from this swing high to this swing low. And I thought, well, maybe the 382 could be swiped through. That sort of energy. And it's actually pretty similar how the charts look. It's scary how similar they are. Now, the one thing though is I don't think that Stellar Lumens is just going to keep trending to the downside. I don't think we're about to have another 98% correction on XLM. Yeah, 97%. Look at that. Madness. So right now, thus far, we've had about a 91%. I think we're pretty done on it. I would be surprised if we start going into these lower levels, especially with how bullish this ecosystem is. There is a big community behind it. And if it could start to get into the 15 cent, 16 cent, 18 cent region, excuse me, 1 second, somebody's outside with a motorcycle. 1 second, family. All right. Apologies about that. So if it could start to hold into these upper levels and actually get above the 382, I would feel very confident that this might be your cycle low for XLM. Now, if it cannot do that, and if it starts to break down back into the 10 cent level, then yes, there is an opportunity for this to spring, and that could happen in October, November of this year. So keep that in mind. And anything below 10 cent XLM is a gift, I think, for the long term. But I will let everyone know again, this is just a recap because of this quick move. I believe I just covered this maybe only 2 weeks ago. I am betting on the winning horse, which to me is XRP. And I don't feel the need to overly diversify just because. So looking at this Stellar Lumens chart comparatively to how XRP has performed, I don't really feel like it would be smart for me to put money into something that I could just focus on the winner, focus on the category winner. And I feel that's XRP. Could I be wrong? Sure. Am I worried about being wrong? No. I have a very solid understanding of how this is all working. And I'm not getting greedy here, So I do have a tiny little bag of XLM, but I would not be putting more than 5% in my overall portfolio. And I'm more bullish on other projects. So just wanted to recap that we did get this price target, hit the AR, a very, very poor AR, by the way, because you really want to see closing above the 382, but just getting to the 382 after a 90% correction is what AR is. That's why it's important to be considerate of these technicals in advance, because you could have your sell limit orders placed in advance if you're somebody who's trying to take action on these quick liquidity events. So just a quick summary on XLM. Now let's move on to IOTA. This is not good. Wow. This is like as bad as the Zcash chart. Okay. So yeah, this is a really underperforming project. We need to move this fib again, dude. This thing just keeps going down. Massive. 95% still. So you guys can see here, this is your buying climax in the macro. This is your selling climax in the macro. This is your AR, and we're about to spring. I really do feel that a sub 10 cent IOTA could be in the cards by October this year. Now, the only other counter theory is, let's just say FedNow service goes live, ISO compliant coins start getting, a little bit more institutional money. And then at the same time, let's just say in October, we have like a shitcoin washout, which is something that I've been talking about for a while now, to anticipate after Rosh Hashanah into October 14th, the solar eclipse, for there to be an event. And that event shakes finance. And does it affect crypto? Probably. So could that be beneficial for the ISO compliant tokens? Maybe. That's been a theory I've shared many times. I even reiterated this on the last interview I did with Coach JV. I told him I was very adamant that XRP not being deemed a security in this case would not bring us into insane price, surge. It would be more likely actually that if we were to have a shitcoin washout of these 20,000 nonsense projects, that would be a moment where the liquidity leaves all the bullshit and goes into XRP and ETH and Bitcoin and the ISO compliant tokens. That to me is very plausible. You know what I'm saying? So I do still see that happening sometime before we start the next bull run, probably before the next Bitcoin halving. That gives us a window of time, but if I had to isolate it, it would make most sense for it to happen around the fall time of this year. But again, I've probably said this enough times to the point. It's just to remind some newer people here. Okay, I don't even know where to begin on technicals on this because it's really not looking good. We have a clear trend line resistance here though. Clear trend line resistance. We keep getting rejected across a full year, pretty much a full year in play. Let me go ahead and extend this out. Okay. This is making some sense now. There you go. Wow, brilliant trend line. Absolutely brilliant trend line. Okay, so you see what's going on here, family? This is your last bull run. This is entering its new, let's just call it mini run. AR in the macro, back testing, bull trap with a lower high. Boom. Now you start treating this potential support as a new resistance, and this resistance has been in play now for technically 400 days, 431 days. Brilliant trend line. I think everyone who's an IOTA investor or trader or someone who is interested in this project should probably draw this, because if it's to play like this, where we actually bounce, let me turn off this setting. If we bounce and we go up to, let's just say the 382, or maybe even I don't think we're going to do that right now, by the way. This is really lackluster. I mean, it would be surprising if this thing could get up to the 382 and then do something like this, where in October, November, we backtest the prior resistance and confirm it as a support. Super bullish. That's super bullish if it was to do that. So this trend line is no joke, family. I mean, when you look at it this way, this trend line is in play for 2,000 days. It's super important. Okay, but downside is just filling out the C19 crash. So the reason why this looks horrible, why this is a horrible chart, is because these were your C19 levels, okay? That was back in 2020. It's 2023 now, over 3 years ago, okay? Bitcoin was at $4,000 right here. Now Bitcoin's at 30,000. So this is trading at the same level that it was back when Bitcoin was at 4,000. It's not looking good. So yeah, like, I mean, this is another one of those projects that why bet on this when you could bet on the category winner? I know that people branch this into the same conversation as XRP, but yeah, we don't even have a prior bull run to consider. It didn't even really do that crazy in 2017 into 2018. And since then, it never broke into price discovery, and IOTA never had SEC coming after it. So why did it not enter a bull run like a lot of other altcoins? Instead, it pretty much mimicked the lower high structure of XRP. You see, that's kind of weird. Again, I'm being real here. We're removing our emotions and we're looking at this critically. This is not, the most beautiful chart. So just be careful with stuff like this, man. I know people read up a lot about these projects. They have a lot of conviction in the team behind it and the technology and all these banking collaborations, etc. But the chart says it all. Okay, now we're going to move into Binance. And I keep getting this question about Binance, of like the future of Binance. And, it's very simple. Binance needed to come back to these levels. Let me just show you what we're talking about here. Zooming out, Binance needed to come back to these levels. I was actually blown away to see how long Binance was holding this 382 fib. It was mind-blowing to see how positive this chart was comparatively to so many other things. Like, it had a 73% correction in that whole bear market. Wow. Like, that's a really good performance when most altcoins lost 85 to 95, even some of them 99%. Binance held. It held up. But I do think this was the automatic rally, and I do think we're about to have a spring. And I've talked about these sub 185 levels several times, and we have this macro trendline support over here. Now, the idea behind this macro trendline support comes in based off of the retest after this bull run into bear market, and then your C19 crash perfectly coming down to it. And since we have yet to backtest it, and if we were to take the total move from here down to this line, it's about 88%. Now remember, Ethereum in the last bull run lost 95%. It's common for even the top altcoin project to lose that much. So seeing Binance come down to, $100 even would make so much sense to me. But then remember, if we break 185, and this is not a true spring where it could only come down to maybe like 135. If it starts going lower than that, lights out, because I think there's thin air until we get to $40. So even though this trend line exists, this yellow trend line, we have to go with the horizontal trading levels, right? So my theory here is this. Let me pull up like a drawing tool. Also, hope you guys are enjoying Red Pill Podcast number 120. Okay, so here's your buying climax, selling climax, automatic rally, and then after AR, potential spring. So let's just say Bitcoin comes up to like 40K, this thing goes up a little more, higher low, then we start to break double bottom, spring. Like this. And it fills this liquidity level between 135 and 170 pretty quickly. And that would be a back test of this tight little fractal. If we can't hold that, it could get nasty. So the idea here is spring gets invalidated and we have a deeper spring into fulfilling a back test on this trend line. But why go only to there when that would be testing just this? Typically, you're going to backtest your key levels, right? Which is obviously down here. That's $42. That's a super deep correction. And that might be the biggest correction ever in Binance history. Because if you pull from this to here, that's an 84% correction. From here to here is an 84% correction. And from here, an 84% correction would be 108. So let's entertain that, family. Let's entertain a 108 because we've seen multiple 84% corrections happen in the past. There's probably a code behind Binance that gives us that 108. I don't know if I'll be able to find it right now. 89 is powerful. That's the 42nd or 24th prime number, excuse me. That 24 comes back to what we were talking about before with Jupiter. And the logo of Binance is obviously a pyramid, as above, so below. And 38, 3 8s, 8, 16, 24, another 24 connection coming back to Binance. 22 in Chaldean, that's powerful. 2 2s. Okay. And then, of course, you always want to take the coin and the name of the ticker symbol. 31 is the 11th prime number. Got the 66. That's a master number and a power number together. 39 giving you this 3 9s. Think about the code this way, family. Okay, I can't really find anything immediate, but we do have BNB, the ticker symbol, giving you 18. Remember earlier we were talking about the number 108. You remove the 0, you get back to 18. Very important number in Judaism. I mean, yeah, like if you were to analyze the last time we swept through this level, we did kind of fuck around with like 107, 110, 116. So yeah, 108 could be the thing. Damn, that'd be an amazing opportunity because I think Binance is here to stay. So people want my theories on Binance. I look at the Chinese Communist Party as a very important player in this game. And I'm going to be bringing up BRICS and the next meeting they have in late August in my August Blue Moon Decoded video, which I hope to release next week. I don't see China going anywhere. I think CZ will play a very important role as being like one of the talking heads of the crypto space, very similarly to like an Elon Musk, but on his side of, the coin. So I'm not bearish on Binance, but I do think what's going on with Binance.us is very, very obnoxious, because it just shows the incompetence of the SEC and how on the attack they are, and how they actually prioritize hurting retail investors more than protecting them. And I think you could all agree with me on this. They're parasites, they seriously are. And I'm not here to give my prana away, but I'm just being real here. I actually got more frustrated with the Securities and Exchange Commission after I watched the Bernie Madoff documentary on Netflix. I suppose it was a documentary. It was more of like a dramatization, but you guys know what I mean. Watch that. It was abysmal how long it took them to catch up to this fraud. And they never really caught up. I mean, it took until there was a natural crisis in the market. It's funny to call it natural because, of course, it was all built upon fraud, but you get what I'm saying, right? Until the overall market had a collapse in that 2007, 2008 subprime mortgage crisis, that was really when they started to see the bones he was hiding in the closet, So SEC was behind allowing all of that to perpetuate for way longer than it should have. They are all incompetent. It's another, octopus tentacle of government that fails as it's designed to be a failure, and it never protects anyone, even though that's what they promise. We're all well aware of this. So just my final thoughts is I don't think Binance is going anywhere. Will the impact against the US market be a thing? Probably, because the US is the world reserve, and we have FedNow going live soon, and we have a lot of changes coming up in the infrastructure of global finance, and I don't think the world reserve is going to change now, but we're in transition into digitizing it all. So it going into central bank digital currencies, and I don't mean just for the US dollar, I'm talking about the whole world. We're heading in that direction. So once the euro goes digital euro, there will need to be a technological layer that is functioning to allow the US dollar to work alongside that, because the DXY has about 50% of it is the euro in that basket of currencies, right? So I know this is complicated. It's probably something for an actual presentation, but I'm just letting you know, off the cuff, off the top of my head, my theories right now. I don't think anything's going bad with Binance, but a bigger correction would be welcomed, because then it would just catch up to what everything else has done. It would make me feel a little better. It's uneasy to be watching Binance hold these levels right here whilst everything else is corrected quite a bit. All they need is one scandal for some real shit to go down. And we all know how quick that could all unfold. Like we saw what happened with FTX and FTT token. We saw what happened with Terra Luna. I don't think Binance is going to have a going to zero moment like those, but I think some sort of scandal could be on the horizon for that September-October event that I told you guys about. Okay. To wrap up today's podcast with a little bit of chat about Solana. Okay, so Solana has effectively started moving into a automatic rally. Once you're getting into those 382 levels, and we surpassed some of these levels right here, a horizontal resistance that was in play for 100 days, broken on the 180th day. Very nice. This is looking good. This can continue rallying for sure. 2-day RSI is only at 80. I think 2-day RSI can go all the way to 95 on a project like this. So the next target to the upside on Solana would be $45, and that could happen very soon. We can see a $48 Solana with a Bitcoin 35K Bitcoin. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense to me. So this had a huge correction, 97% pretty much. Automatic rally is what we expect. So there you go. Yeah, Solana's in AR. I would look for that $48 to be super conservative. Above that, maybe 57. I would entertain 48 to 57. I don't think it can make it into the golden pocket at this time. If it can, beautiful, but it's less likely. Now, downside, this was clearly a bear trap, but downside is your 236 fib. And this could just be a break fake out of a bull flag. So when I'm saying fake out is this shit that happened right there, that quick swipe down and then jolt up, breaking the horizontal level and the vertical level. You know, it's a very, very fucked play against retail. They don't expect stuff like that. Yeah, so there you go. You see where this tops out? It's about 56. And I don't even like doing it this way. I typically put it in a linear scale, so I'd go like this. It's just, yeah, it's too shrunk and weird looking. Yeah, on this, it wouldn't even make sense. It's just too much. The problem with doing this is it had a 95% correction. So the data is squeezing when it's in a linear chart. That's why I look at it logarithmically, because this looks so horrific. But we've been nailing ARs and all of these big, moves on the logarithmic using the fibs in log. So we've gotten really, really dialed in and using this fib tool. We've been able to determine all of the selling climax targets with fibs and all of these automatic rallies and price discovery with new all-time highs. So it's pretty amazing how you could use this tool. Like once you really effectively learn how to use this tool with the Wyckoff method, right there you become, that's your 20% for Pareto's principle. Like that's your 20% competency to have 80% of the rest start to slowly make sense to you. That's a good way to put it, actually. I'm going to have to remember that. Okay, now we're looking at cast. Whoa. Okay. Whoa. This thing has been on a new all-time high in April? What? Holy moly. This is like the only thing doing this. What? Okay. What's this market cap? 214. Okay, yeah, it's super low market cap. But wow, what a run. Okay, this is your two surges. I think another surge is even potentially in the cards, 3 times a charm. I know some people out there utilize Elliott wave theory. We actually have a column, particularly an Elliott wave analyst in our community who's moderating over in Trading Wolves. His name is Ahmed. He is really a student of Wyckoff, and he's been following my work for a while, he's a big student of Elliott wave, and I'm obviously more utilizing Wyckoff, and he's combined both, and it's really fascinating to see anyone who uses Elliott wave, but not really to get into that right now. We could tell that there could be another surge to the upside based off the way this is reacting in the micro. So I'm going to show you what's up. Okay, right here we have a fib pull from the swing high to swing low. Let me just make sure this is on a linear chart. Wait, let me see. How much data is this? Yeah, 50 days. I don't mind putting this in linear. Okay, now we're getting to the bottom of the golden pocket. So if we can start to close in this golden pocket, it's likely that this has another surge up to the 1618. And if this is going to go one more leg higher, that's kind of what I would entertain. Now, wow, really impressive. So remember what I told you before about the 4236? So look at this. With this swing high to swing low on a linear pull, so this is turned off, we swiped through the 4236 and 4618 all the way to the 6 spot, maybe even 7 spot extension. That was a really incredible run. But it does look like it could keep going. This structure looks real tight. Yeah. Fucking crazy. What is this project? Yeah, the structure looks real tight. Now the problem is if I think we start to close below this, down to a penny is the next bigger correction. So it's going to go like this. Boom. We have this correction right here, then swinging through it, and then we have returning down to it and be pretty much your last test before continuation up. So it would kind of be something like this. Maybe we do get stopped out at a double top, return back to the trend line, get rejected, come back down, and then start actually correcting back into this prior range right here. Okay. So that would kind of be what I would see going on here, unless this really does want to surge one more level up. And that's when I would entertain the 1618 on this fib pull right here. And that's about it at best, making it up to 6 cents. And in that case, it would look like this. Maybe Bitcoin going up brings this up to this 1618, come back down. Horizontal test at the 236, can't go. One more time, lights out. And then September, October, come back down into the bottom of this trading range. Can you see? And then at this point, you better hope this thing still exists, okay? Because this thing could literally go to zero. What an insane run on this. I wouldn't personally put any money in it because it's made a ton of price discovery, right? So there's really no point. So awkward if this thing was to keep going. To have a 2,000% gain in the middle of a bear market is fucking wild. Especially with new all-time high after new all-time high. So there must be something going on in this project. But yeah, I mean, a 1618 run, one last one is in the cards. It's definitely potential. Now the idea of it making up to 9 cents, it's less likely. But 6, I could entertain that if Bitcoin, let's just say, goes to like 40, 30, maybe 37, 38, 39. And then, yeah, by October, this thing should start breaking below a penny. Of course, depending on many factors. But I'm going to leave this here. I want to just, I'm not going to save this chart. I'm going to save all the data I put on it. And we'll return back to it maybe in like 3 months and see how this goes. So here's my deeper targets. We're probably not going to get there till the fall time, end of the year. But this 236 right there. Yeah. Boom. That's super clean. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. Be interesting to see how this goes. The analysis, though, is, really just following the path of least resistance, which would be up to this new higher high on the 1618 or double top. That's pretty much what you're left with. It's hard to tell how much juice is left in this thing because there's so limited data, That's why I tell people, give me at least a year. This thing doesn't even have a year worth of data. But it's still pretty interesting to look at because there's very few charts that I've seen that have this vibe right now out of the entire vibe of crypto. There was an opportunity on this play. I mean, it even gave you about 50 days or so to get accumulated before that next rally up. It's pretty impressive. All right, family, I'm going to leave it at that. Wow. Today, this was packed with gems, but more importantly, packed with words of wisdom. That's what we really needed to focus on after this recent thing that happened with XRP. I hope you guys are enjoying the ride. I sure am. It's beautiful being here with you on that ride. I'm going to wrap this one up. I think this is probably one of those podcasts that you're going to want to rewatch in a couple days. Really a lot of information, and I appreciate you joining. Wishing you all a beautiful rest of your weekend in the Matrix. Much love.